They made me sleep in the garage while cousins got beds. Years later, I bought the house. I stood in the doorway with my backpack still on one shoulder, the strap biting into my collarbone, listening to my aunt say it like she was offering me a favor. "It's just for a few nights, Snore. You'll be fine. The cousins are tired." She didn't even lower her voice. The hallway smelled like fabric softener and frying onions, and everyone's shoes were lined up neatly like the house itself knew how to behave. Behind her, my cousins were already shuffling toward the bedrooms, dragging suitcases over the polished floor, laughing about who got the top bunk. My uncle didn't look up from the TV. My mom was standing behind me with her hands clasped together like she was trying to hold herself from falling apart, and I could feel her eyes on the back of my head, silently asking me not to make this harder. My aunt pointed down the side hall, then flicked her chin toward the back door. "Garage is through there. There's a mattress. We moved the boxes. You'll have privacy." The word privacy sounded wrong coming out of her mouth. I opened my lips to say something, anything, and my throat tightened so fast it felt like I'd swallowed a knot. I walked past her before I could change my mind, the house suddenly too quiet in a way that made every small sound feel loud. The cousins' laughter bounced off the walls. I could hear the clink of a bedroom door closing, the click of a lock, like a tiny, casual decision that I didn't get to have. My backpack shifted and thumped against my spine with every step. When I pushed open the back door, cool air hit my face, damp and metallic. The porch light threw a pale circle over the concrete path leading to the garage. The door to the garage was half open already, like it had been left that way on purpose so no one had to touch it for me. Inside, it smelled like old cardboard and motor oil and something sweet that had rotted in a corner. A thin mattress lay on the floor beside a stack of plastic tubs. Someone had thrown a sheet over it, but it was wrinkled and didn't cover the edges. I stood there for a second with my hand still on the doorframe, feeling my cheeks burn, hearing the muffled sound of my family settling into a house that wasn't mine, and realizing this was where I was supposed to sleep. My mom's voice floated out from inside, too bright, too careful. "Nor, sweetheart, do you need anything?" I didn't trust my voice, so I just shook my head even though she couldn't see me. The garage light buzzed overhead like an insect, and I could feel my heart beating in my ears. It was the summer I turned 15, the year everything in our life shifted sideways. My dad had left months earlier, not with a dramatic slam-the-door scene, just with a slow disappearing act that ended in a suitcase and an empty side of the closet. Mom tried to pretend we were okay, like if she kept cooking and laughing and packing my lunch, the shape of our life wouldn't change. Then the lease ended, rent went up, and suddenly, okay became a bunch of phone calls and whispered conversations after she thought I'd gone to sleep. When my aunt offered for us to stay, temporarily, at her place, Mom said yes like someone tossing a rope to a drowning person. I remember sitting in the car as we drove there, my knees hugged to my chest, telling myself it would be fine because family is family. I believed that. I really did. My aunt's house wasn't huge, but it was always busy.
She liked it that way.
She liked people seeing her as the one who hosted, the one who helped, the one who had the big table. She had 2 kids of her own, and my uncle's sister's kids visited often, so there were always cousins. There was always noise. There was always food. It looked warm for me outside. It felt warm if you were one of the people she wanted to keep warm. The first night in the garage, I lay on that mattress staring at the underside of a shelf where cans of paint were lined up like little soldiers. A gecko clicked somewhere in the rafters. The concrete pressed cold through the mattress into my hip bones. I could hear laughter from inside, the muffled sound of my aunt telling a story, the TV turning up, the kitchen faucet running. I pulled the thin sheet up to my chin and tried to breathe quietly so nobody would remember I was out there and come check on me like I was some stray animal. At some point, the porch light switched off and the garage got darker, like even the house wanted to forget me. In the morning, I woke up sweating. The garage held heat like a closed fist. My hair stuck to my neck. When I opened the side door to go inside, I hesitated because I knew I'd be stepping into a space where I didn't belong. The kitchen was already full. My cousins sat at the table eating cereal, legs swinging, calling for seconds like they owned the place. My aunt looked at me and did this quick scan from my face to my clothes, then said, "Oh, you're up." Like she'd forgotten I existed until that exact moment. She handed me a plate without meeting my eyes. "There's toast. But eat quickly, we're heading out." She said it the way people talk to someone who's in the way. That became the rhythm. The garage at night. The kitchen when I was useful. The living room only if there was an extra spot and nobody complained. I started keeping my things in my backpack because if I left anything in the house, my charger, my hairbrush, one of the cousins would pick it up and go, "What's this?" with this face like it was weird that I had belongings. My aunt would laugh and say, "That's Noor's. She's with us for now."
For now. It was always for now.
Mum noticed, obviously. She tried to fix it in these small, careful ways. She'd bring me extra blankets and whisper, "I'm sorry, Abibdi," like it was a secret confession. She'd offer to switch places with me, and I'd say no because the idea of her sleeping on cold concrete made my chest hurt. She'd ask my aunt, softly, if maybe I could sleep on the couch inside. My aunt would smile like she'd been asked something ridiculous. The couch? Noor would be uncomfortable. And the boys get up early. It would disturb everyone. Then she'd add, "She's young. She'll adapt." Like I was a plant. The thing is, I did adapt. But not in a healthy, inspirational way. I adapted in the way you adapt when you learn you can't rely on anyone's kindness. I started waking up before everyone else, so I could shower without someone banging on the door. I started doing my homework in the garage because inside there was always noise and someone would always tell me to move. I started eating quickly and washing my own dishes and wiping the counter before my aunt could look at me like I owed her. I became smaller, quieter, less noticeable. I learned to take up as little space as possible because space was apparently something you had to earn. One afternoon, about a month into it, I came back from school to find the garage door open and my mattress pushed to the side. My aunt stood there with her hands on her hips, surveying the boxes. "We need room," she said, like it was obvious. "Your uncle is bringing in the new freezer." She pointed to a thinner, folded camping pad leaning against the wall. "You can use that tonight. It's temporary." My mouth went dry. "Where am I supposed to sleep?" She blinked like she hadn't expected pushback. "Right there. Noor, don't be difficult." Mum came rushing in behind me, eyes wide. "What's going on?" My aunt waved a hand. "Nothing. She's just being dramatic." I felt something in me crack, not loudly, not in a movie way, just a quiet breaking that I could feel behind my ribs. I looked at Mum, and I saw her face do that thing where she tried to hold her pride and her fear at the same time, and I knew she was calculating. If we pushed too hard, she might kick us out. Where would we go? I hated that my aunt had that power over us. I hated that I had to swallow my anger because we didn't have anywhere else. That night, I slept on the camping pad, and my back ached so badly I couldn't breathe deeply without feeling it. I stared at the ceiling and decided something very simple. I would never let anyone do this to me again. Not ever. Not because I was special. Not because I deserved luxury. Just because I deserved a door that closed and a bed that was mine. Years passed in this weird blur. We stayed, temporarily, for almost a year. Mum got a better job, saved up, found a small apartment. The day we moved out, my aunt hugged Mum and said, "See? We helped you when you needed it." Then she turned to me and patted my shoulder the way you pat someone you don't really know. "You'll tell your kids one day how we took you in," she said, smiling. I didn't answer. I just carried my last box to the car and shut the trunk like I was sealing something away. After we left, Mum tried to pretend it hadn't been that bad. She'd say, "They meant well," and I'd nod because I didn't want to fight with her about it. But in my body, I still remembered the cold concrete and the buzzing garage light. I remembered the lock clicking on the bedroom door while I stood in the hallway holding my backpack. I remembered being treated like an extra person, a burden, a problem to tuck away. In my 20s, I became the kind of person who saved receipts and kept spreadsheets and planned everything. I worked while studying. I took extra shifts. I shared apartments with roommates who stole my milk and still felt grateful because at least I had a room with a door. I built my life quietly, brick by brick, and I didn't tell my family much about it because I learned early that people treat your dreams like entertainment until they turn real. Then, when I was 28, I got a call from Samira, my cousin, the one who used to get the top bunk and complain if the pillow wasn't fluffy enough. "Hey," she said, voice too light. "So, we're selling the house." I almost dropped my phone. "Your mum's house?" "Yeah," she said, rushing ahead. "Uncle's health, you know. And the market is good. Anyway, the agent is coming. We're just looking at options." I didn't say what I was thinking, which was, "Your mum acted like she'd die before giving up that house." Then Samira said, "Actually, would you be interested? Like, to buy it? It would be nice if it stayed in the family." The word family did something sharp inside me. I stood in my kitchen staring at the chipped edge of my counter, feeling the old garage air rise in my throat. "Why would I buy it?" I asked. There was a pause, then a laugh like she was trying to keep it casual. "I don't know. You're doing well, right? Mum said you have a good job. And we give you a fair price, obviously." I could hear my aunt's voice behind her, distant but clear enough. "Ask her. She owes us." I went still. Samira covered the phone and hissed something, then came back. "Sorry, she's just stressed." I should have hung up. I should have said no just out of principle. But my brain did this strange thing where it became very calm. Because suddenly, the house wasn't just a house. It was a story with an ending I could choose. "Send me the details," I said. Over the next few weeks, I toured the house with an agent who didn't know any of the history. The house looked the same and also different. The hallway still smelled like fabric softener. The kitchen counters had new granite. My aunt had replaced the old couch with something cream and expensive looking. The garage door still squeaked the same way when it lifted. The moment I stepped into the garage, my stomach flipped. It was cleaner now, brighter, but I could still see the shadow of where my mattress had been, like my body had drawn it on the floor. The agent chatted about great storage and versatile space, and I nodded like a normal buyer. My hands stayed in my pockets because if I touched anything, I thought I might feel 15 again. I made an offer. It was fair. It was clean. It wasn't emotional. My aunt tried to push for more, of course. She called Mum and said, "Tell her not to lowball us after everything." Mum called me with her voice tight, asking carefully what was happening. I told her the truth. "I'm buying it," I said. "And no, I'm not overpaying." There was a long silence, and then Mum said softly, "Are you sure you want that house?" I looked around my apartment, at the plants on my windowsill and the framed photo of me and Mum at my graduation, and I realized my hands weren't shaking anymore. "I'm sure," I said. The day we signed papers, my aunt showed up wearing too much perfume and a smile that didn't fit her face. She leaned in like we were close. "Look at you," she said, loud enough for the solicitor to hear. "All grown up. We always knew you'd do well." I signed without looking at her. My pen made a scratchy sound on the paper. When it was done, she reached out as if to hug me. I stepped back. Her smile faltered for half a second. "What's wrong?" she asked, offended. I stared at her, really stared, and felt something settle. Not revenge. Not triumph. Just finality. "You made me sleep in your garage," I said, quietly enough that only she could hear. "You don't get to act like you raised me." Her face changed fast, shock, then anger, then that familiar dismissal. "Oh, don't start," she snapped. "It was years ago. You were fine. We helped your mother." I nodded once. "You did," I said. "And now I've helped myself." After the sale, I didn't kick them out with drama. They had a move-out date. I followed it legally, cleanly, the way adults do. But the day they handed over the keys, I walked through the house alone after they left. The rooms were empty. The walls looked pale, without furniture. I opened every door and let it swing wide just because I could. When I reached the garage, I turned on the light. It buzzed, same as before, but now it didn't feel like an insect trapped in my skull. It was just a light. I sat on the concrete floor for a moment, right where the mattress used to be, and felt the coolness under my palms. Then I stood up, brushed the dust off my jeans, and went inside. I locked the door behind me, not because I was afraid, but because it was mine. Thanks for watching. If you've ever been treated like an afterthought in your own family, share your story in the comments. I read them, and I know I'm not the only one.